message for the ladies and gentlemen around the world and all the ships at sea.
We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
So choose wisely. Subscribe to It's Erik Nagel wherever shows are found, on whatever platform you choose. And as always, leave us a positive review. Would you kindly?
Meet me at the con.
It's Erik Nagel. And it starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Erik Nagel.
Hello and welcome to the New York Comic-Con 2019 edition of It's Erik Nagel. That is myself, and that would be my buddy Giddles.
What up?
We're doing the show a little different this year because this year's show, production, broadcast has been plagued with a tragedy of errors in every direction.
Yeah,
so
it's real Shakespeare here.
We're actually doing this a week after New York Comic-Con. As you can tell, you don't hear the ambiance, you don't hear the floor noise or any of that stuff there because we're doing the wraparound separately from the interviews that we did at New York Comic-Con. A lot to get into.
Way to ruin the magic, Erik. We could have just said we got these brand new mics. They're great at noise canceling. You can't hear the crowds behind us.
Because then everybody's like, I will spend top dollar for these said mics, sir. Please tell me what they are. And I'll have to say we were lying.
Yeah, GiddlesMics.com. I'll send you a microphone. They're great. And then you send me money. That's how business works.
Right. But where are you going to get these microphones and do they work?
I don't know. I'm just going to get a phone. I'm going to write Mike Rowe on it, and then I'm going to send it to people and be like, it's a microphone.
Yeah, M-I-C Rowe.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, welcome to the program. We've got a lot to dive into here for New York Comic-Con 2019. So let's start off with the first day, which would have been Thursday when we got there to see the floor open up. We got on the floor, and I have to admit, for the first day, being a Thursday, I've never seen it that packed. And now it could have been that it was kind of gray and rainy outside, a little cold. So a lot of people probably shot over there early. I asked, do people not work anymore? And Brian said people probably took half days or already had this day scheduled off. But it was wall to wall people, so much to the point where usually you can navigate the floor in certain aisles. There's it's like veins, you know, that you can course through the floor. So, you know, if I go here, I can have a fast pass to get to the other side. If I go this way, I can shoot to the back, this way to the front. It wasn't like that for the first day. It was at the point where I'm not even going to go explore most of the floor. There's just too many fucking people.
Yeah. I didn't actually think it was too bad on that Thursday. I felt like getting in was a pain in the butt, but like once you got in, like it wasn't too bad. But I think as the day went on, yeah, definitely because of the weather, a lot more people like piled in. But also like on the Thursday, there was still badges available at the door. So I think there was a lot of people who showed up and just, you know, said, hey, this weather sucks. I'm going to take a half day and just come to Comic-Con. Because I know some people who just showed up and got a day pass like at the door.
See, that's weird because leading up to Comic-Con, I had people asking me about passes. And obviously we didn't have passes to share with anybody. But I said, look, we got these months ago. So I know they were selling day passes, 2-day passes, 4-day passes. And I knew something sold out, but I wasn't 100% sure which because some people were writing back and saying, I can't get a ticket. It's sold out. Oh, I don't know what to tell you. But then all of a sudden day passes were available as we got closer to the con. So I'm wondering if they even cared about whatever the fire safety rules are or how many people were in there. Because again, I'm hearing that I got to get the exact number, but it broke a record again for having higher attendance than San Diego Comic-Con.
See, that's like this year didn't feel that crazy to me. I don't know why. Like walking around, it didn't feel, maybe because there was just less to do. So I was walking around on the floor a lot less. So I was just I wasn't noticing the people as much. But I don't know.
I don't know how you don't notice the people as much when you're walking around the floor within the people.
I mean, maybe it's just I'm becoming a con pro and I can just walk through the crowds now. Like, you know, Fry when he has this 300th cup of coffee in that Futurama episode, and like time stops and he can just walk through and doesn't hit anybody. Like I've gotten to that point at Comic-Con where I could just look down at my phone, walk, not knock into anybody. A giant Princess Peach dress that's taking up the whole row. I'm just like whoop, right around her, just keep moving. But there wasn't, I think there was more floor space because there wasn't as much like big spectacle type things that were taking up the floor. So I think there was just more room for people to go. Because remember like when the Tick was there, they had the big crime boat and that took up like 3/4 of like one room. Like it was huge. And there wasn't anything that big like that this year. There was still the Twitch stage, which is slowly becoming the biggest stage at Comic-Con. And then, you know, like the little South Park section.
Wait, the Twitch stage or the sci-fi stage?
Whatever that sci-fi Twitch stage was, like in that back corner.
Yeah, that's the sci-fi stage, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the Twitch stage in previous years. I guess it's like Sci-Fi now because Sci-Fi is making their presence known at Comic-Con. Like they took, I think, a big foothold in like a year or two ago or something like that, but they are all over the con. But yeah, that was like a big presence there, but there wasn't like the big force spectacle stuff that there usually is. So I think for me, people were able to like disperse out a little more. And also because the upstairs press area was cut in half, there was a lot of people hanging out up there, and it was a lot more crowded up there than it usually is.
Yeah, upstairs where is normally, I mean, it still is the press room, right? But it used to have this big, gigantic walkway to the back end where you check in to go to the press section. And that used to be, up until one point, when you came up those escalators, you had to show your badge. Right. Yeah, so you had to check. That was the first stage of press check-in, where they even to let you into that area. And they had tables. You could relax. There was a lot of press and bloggers that were using the tables and the plug-in facilities and stuff.
They used to have like little like snacky things for the press area. Like they would put out like sometimes little chips and a water bottle. They had all the coffee that one year when Star Wars was coming back. They had all the coffee mate things. They were giving out free coffee, but none of that anymore. Nothing free.
Yeah, there was none of that. In fact, they started making that little stage and signing areas for cosplay competitions, professional cosplayers, like that tiny little area. They were throwing all the cosplay stuff. So you had to, you know, kind of weave through all of that just to get to the back area where all the press was.
And it's not just like a normal cosplay area. Like the cosplay area has adapted and evolved so much on that upstairs area where it used to be like, oh, just come here and take a picture. Hey, we have like this one, you know, group of people who are going to take professional pictures and they have a green screen. And now it's like we have an entire classroom set up and a subway set up and you can pretend you're in poses and they have like extras hanging out that'll be in the pictures with you. So it looks like you're on a movie set. Like they really are going all out on the cosplay.
I still can't find. I'm looking here. I'm not seeing an attendance thing exactly. I see that they confirmed that. Where is it? 200,000 tickets were sold.
Okay.
For this year, which is, if all 200,000 went, that is bigger than last year's record because I think last year was in the 180s.
Yeah, something like that.
So, also, you know, all these people and these record numbers that they're doing in there, they were expanding the Javits Center for the last couple of years.
Yep.
I think it's still going to be another year before it's all finished. So they're going to have all these areas open up to include even more people because, like San Diego is now turning into, New York only had so much room at the Javits Center that they had to spread it out to different facilities, different venues, where they would use the Manhattan Center, the Hammerstein Ballroom, that combo right there. They would use the Hard Rock sometimes. They were using, I think Nintendo bought a floor in an old industrial building because I remember going there for sampling the Switch before it came out. We got to go over there and try out Mario and Zelda before even those came out. And
well, they had Hammerstein again this year.
Okay.
They had that again. They had on the little side streets, they had like a whole Crunchyroll anime thing that was
that's right. I forgot I walked past again. That. Yeah.
So they had that again this year. I didn't go by there, and I wish I did because last year they gave you a free box of Japanese snacks, and it was great. It was like chips and like coffee and stuff in there, and it was really nice. They were doing something at I believe it was Sony Theater in Times Square area, like something up on like 46th Street. They were doing something down
the PlayStation
on like
Theater.
20th Street on like Broadway. Like they were all over the place. It was more spread out than the NYU campus. Like it was just, where do you got to be now? You have to decide between, I really want to go see this panel, or I really want to go interview this person. They're 4 miles apart.
Yeah, so all these different venues, as we've been saying here, had to be available to fit everything that was going on until they can open up the new extensions for the Javits Center. And even when that's done, they're probably going to fill that space real quick with stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's mostly for New York Comic Con. We ran into my brother on the floor, and I don't know if were you with us? When
I was with you.
You were with me, right? It was me and Brody and Jamie and a few other people. And ran into my brother, and he's one of the people in charge of the renovations going on over there. And he was telling us everything that they were putting in, and that pretty much that a lot of this was just for New York Comic Con and the car show.
Yeah.
And we told the story about the one time we went for when Toys R Us had their little mini toy fair, their preview thing.
Yeah.
It was on the basement level. And then we went upstairs to the main floor just to see what it was. We walked in, and it was a combination health and fitness and boat show. Like it was two different things that shouldn't have gone together that they just threw on the same floor.
Well, it was half boat show, and then the other half, it wasn't a health and fitness thing. What it was the check-in area for the New York Marathon. So it was like all the shoe people and all the sponsors who were there. So it was basically like a marathon convention type thing. So it was like, oh, check out the new running shoe technology, but it was only for people, I think, who were running in the New York Marathon. So it was like something like that. But then the boat show was just for, the boat marathon, which was totally different. Lots of dolphins died. It was horrible.
Well, still, it was if it was just for the marathoners, we still shouldn't have been there to begin with. But we're walking around.
They wouldn't let us in
like,
there.
Why is it a health food and a like a health and wellness and a boat show? We couldn't figure out the combinations. At least the time when we're walking on the floor, because you walk 2 aisles and go, oh wait, there's boats. Nah.
Yeah, and they took one look at us and they're like, you guys aren't running in a marathon. You can't come in here. Like, we didn't have to show any badges. They just looked at our physical shape and said, you guys do not run marathons. I was like, that is true. 100%, but I like comfortable shoes.
Right. We're walking around with Toys R Us bags full of toys, and we're like, oh.
Got Nerf dart bruises on my forehead from shooting children. I'm like, ready for the shoe
We need to leave. So that was Thursday. Friday seemed a little better as far as which is weird because Friday and Saturday are usually the busiest days. Friday seemed a little bit easier to navigate and move around, but I don't. I must be the only person because I'm saying I'm not one of those vibe people, that channel energies and live their life saying, oh, the energy doesn't feel right, or you send positive energy, or I do this to all that nonsense. But I will say, on the floor, Friday felt weird. It did not feel good. It just everything seemed a little off, and I don't know why, but it just did. Still plowed through. Still had fun. The energy on the floor did feel weird. I don't know what was going on.
I think it's just because like I said, there wasn't a lot to do this year. Like they said, there's always a lot more stuff. Like when I walk around the floor, the previous years, like remember last year, they had that whole Overwatch section, and you can sit here and like they'll take the spinning 360 picture of you, and you can like put on the Overwatch. Nothing like that. Like no photo booth type things.
Yeah.
Like remember last year? Like remember you know me. Like I would go through the children's things and pose with like stupid kids flowers and anime puppets just because it's there.
Remember you
didn't have that.
What was it, the Cujo and the 2 strings or whatever it was called?
Oh yeah. None of that.
Where you took the 2-string guitar instrument, whatever it was, and everyone's posing nicely with the background from the movie or something. Brian he's like, oh, I need to get a photo. Okay, so I hold his stuff. He goes over, grabs the instrument, does the heavy metal like guitar death pose right in front of Cujo and the 2 strings, and they took the photo. And the guys were laughing because everyone else was all being sweet and sincere, trying to reenact the movie. And Brian's like, no, watch this. I'm going to do a death metal pose. And Brian loves running into any kind of interactive area where they'll do video or photos. You remember the one time they were live? It was a couple years ago. They were live streaming something in the center of the floor, and you walked over and you just kind of went like this, and you were just staring helplessly.
That was 5 years ago because that came up on Comic-Con as my 5-year memory of me just standing in front of the screen like, what am I doing here? Like that awkward in front of the Yu-Gi-Oh booth.
Yeah, you were just staring, and there was a lot of people watching, and then Brian just kind of walks into the middle and just stares there like in a panic, like he's freaking out. And he just stood there for at least 30 seconds just to make it awkward for everybody watching at home.
Yeah, but there wasn't anything like that this year. There wasn't a lot of stuff. There was like that Predator game. There was a bunch of like video game stuff that was interactive. You had to wait online for 2 hours to play the game for 3 minutes.
Oh, I think I cut that line because I got right in.
Yeah, well, of course you do, Eric. You just like, oh, I'm here, and people are like, are you? And you're like, I am now. And they're like, okay, I'm not going to start an argument.
I walked in there like, he hands me a controller. I said, yep, let's do this. Put my bag down, started playing Predator. I forgot what it was called. Predator Hunter.
Hunt for the Predator or something. Hunt for the Predator people.
It's not out yet.
Cool.
It's not out yet, but we got to play it. And look, I'm happy it's just not a first-person shooter because I can't stand those games. But I was playing this game. I was like, this isn't really a game for me. But I did enjoy playing as the character. Here's what I did. I was running around through the trees because you can climb up the trees. And
let's tell people the premise of the game first. So the premise of the game is one person is the predator, and then there's a team, a whole team of people who are working together to try and kill the person who is the predator. And the predator is kind of a little more overpowered. He can like take out people, but you have to kind of sneak around and be invisible, which is something Erik did. But Erik didn't really play the game. He just kind of sat there invisible while everyone went fucking bonkers trying to find him.
Well, that was one part of it. You are completely right. But the other part was that I climbed up into the trees. And if you run around in the trees are laid out in a way where it's almost a path. You can follow. It gives you like a red, like if you set a waypoint on certain games, right? It shows you a line so you know where you're going. So while in the trees, I just kept running around in a circle in the trees around this little outpost base, if you will, right? So I didn't know that other people were playing. I thought I was just playing as the predator and shooting people in the base there. I had people behind me because I was near one of the ropes, so I knew people on the floor were standing behind me. So all I did was just run around the trees and not shoot anything while I knew people were standing there behind me trying to see the game. And one guy, somebody yells, "Just shoot already!" I just kept jumping through the trees, doing nothing. It was a lot of fun. I know I have a post of it here somewhere. I can't find the name of the damn game. It was Predator.
Well, it was still in like prototype mode because we weren't allowed to take any pictures. Like we could only basically chat about it while we were there. Like we tried to take a picture and like you can't take a picture over here. You have to be facing this direction. So.
Oh, I took photo of the screens and stuff. I didn't know if I was supposed to or not. It's called Predator Hunting Grounds for the
Hunting
PS4.
Grounds, that's it, yes.
That's what it was. It was a lot of fun. I can see why people would like it, especially, I'm not a big Predator fan, but if you were a big Predator fan, this would definitely be a game that you want to get because the game control was very loose but accurate. You know, it wasn't too loose that you can't focus on anything, but it was not really rigid where if you're near the edge of a tree, it pulls you back and you can't do anything. If you fall, you fall. Like it's free to go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that was fun. I'm trying to think of some other things before we get into the first interview here. I don't know. I'll think of some stuff. Let's go to the first interview since we haven't played any of that yet. First stop on New York Comic-Con, we went to go see our old pal, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, this is interesting that we can call him our old pal because he's been on our show several times right now, recently, and he is just a presence. He's just a very commanding, sometimes overpowering individual where you're sitting there and you feel like the teacher's going to yell at you if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But he's a lot of fun, and if he likes a joke, he can play around with everything there. Of course, somebody, I don't know if it was you or Kevin, somebody had to bring in Pluto again, but I think he's long past that.
No, he brought up Pluto.
Oh, he brought it out?
Pluto is a very sore subject for Neil deGrasse because, as you'll hear during the interview, we pointed out a book he had that is coming out.
Right.
And in the book, he goes on to say that he still gets hate mail from children about Pluto. And I don't think there's ever been a time where we've talked to him where he doesn't talk about all the hate mail he gets from children. So I feel like you guys have like a little kindred spirit with how much children and
Yeah, he's getting
goes around.
But he also said he does get a lot of hate mail, which is fun to see that an astrophysicist gets hate mail from around the world. He's got it from, it's weird the things that set people off, because he does Star Talk Radio, which is his radio, podcast, TV program all in one. He's gotten a lot of attention from doing Joe Rogan. He's got a lot of attention because obviously from Pluto. He's gotten attention for a lot of the flat earthers too. He went after flat earthers for a while, and that somehow was controversial. I don't know why. I have to look up as to why that was controversial.
Wait, which one again?
For flat earthers.
Oh,
I think it's just because people make a big stink about thinking the Earth is flat.
Well, because it is.
It is. We're on the back of a turtle. His new book, by the way, since we got to it very late in the interview, which you'll hear, but his new book called Letters from an Astrophysicist is out. I believe it's out.
Should be out now.
Should be out right now by author Neil deGrasse Tyson. You should go definitely check that out. Also check out his program, Star Talk Radio. You'll enjoy what he does there. It's I don't know if it's on a weekly. I think it's a weekly basis.
I think it's weekly. Yeah.
Yeah. So look for all that stuff. Look for Neil on social media and tell him that you heard him on this show. He loves hearing about where people discover him and find out. And plus, it helps us out if you can. So with that being said, let's go over to the press room and go hang out with our pal Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It's Erik Nagel at New York Comic Con.
We are here at New York Comic Con with our pal Neil deGrasse Tyson. One of the many times that he's been on the show, and we're glad to have you back again. I'm loving your Van Gogh vest.
It's a little in the face, but deal with it.
Well, also is in the face is the glitter that's coming off the back there.
I keep forgetting it has glitter. And
so when I go home, were you at a strip club? No, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He does smell like vanilla, though.
Why is there glitter on your shoulder? Right,
it's all over me.
Stars from the Starry Night, like
further away. It is the essence of the stars.
Yeah.
Sir, Star Talk Radio still going strong, and you got your live show here a little bit later
in
New York Comic Con. So much has been going on in space. Last time we talked to you was for Cosmos, and it was like a slow time. We were talking about if things are going to happen with Mars. Now we've seen more interest in the last year since we talked to you that Elon Musk wants to fund stuff there.
It's ramping up, yes.
Richard Branson's doing the low-level space shuttle flights, but even he's now talking about going there. Everyone wants to get the hell out of here and go to Mars. When do we see this?
Is that how they're thinking about it?
I think it's under the guise.
Or maybe they know something.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the hell
off
of
Earth. It's under the
Earth.
guise of, well, look, we can make a lot of money, but really they do know something. It's like, we need to get the hell out of here and make money while we're doing it.
Yeah.
When do you see all this happening? Because there's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
Can it come to fruition?
I don't want to get
lifetime?
in their way because they're dreamers, and you need dreamers in every sector of society, especially ones where your dream will pull the creativity of your staff to a new place. Even if the dream is technically inaccessible, the idea is big, hairy, audacious idea gets people thinking out of their comfort zone, and you need that. Otherwise, there's no innovation at all. Right. So I don't have a problem with that. I have my own skepticisms, but I'm not going to debate them. I'm just saying, just as a scientist and as someone who has some awareness of business and industry and pop culture, I don't see anybody sending people to Mars anytime soon.
At least not in our lifetimes, right?
Well, let me say that differently. I know of two ways we'll get to Mars. We discover oil. All right? That's one. One.
We'll be on the next ship there.
Right. We'll be there. We got two. China threatens, or pretends to threaten, to want to put military bases on Mars. Then we'll be on Mars in 10 months. 1 month to fund, design, and build the spacecraft, and 9 months to get there. In fact, we'll be there so quick, we'll have Starbucks and McDonald's. I'm just saying.
Mars bucks.
Yeah.
Mars buns. Ooh.
Puns.
Yes.
Mars bucks.
Oh, Mars bucks.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you Mars buns for the hamburger.
No, Mars bucks.
Mars bucks. Okay, so on Shrek there was Farbucks.
Yeah. Right.
This will be Mars bucks.
Right. That's fantasy. This will be a reality. And there'll be a Mars bucks on the corner across from another.
Of course,
Mars
no, a caddy corner, not directly across. You got to move a little bit on the coordinate grid,
right,
just to get to it.
Yeah, and then one little alien's like, there goes the neighborhood, just walking down the sidewalk.
So So I think we need one of those reasons, which historically have been quite effective at enabling august bodies such as Congress to write checks, to make things happen. Then it's a government trip. I don't see a business model to do that. What would that meeting look like? So Elon Musk brings in venture capitalists and says, they said, what do you want to do, Elon? I want to go to Mars. Well, we were already on Mars. No, I want to send people to Mars. How much will it cost? A lot. Possibly $1 trillion. Will it be dangerous? Yes. Will people die? Probably. What's the return on that investment? I don't know. That's a 5-minute meeting.
That's when you throw the Kennedy speech at them. We do things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. And you go, how are you going to argue with that?
That speech, somebody had to pay for doing something that was hard and not easy. And do you know why we paid to go to the moon? Because the same speech where Kennedy says we'll put a man on the moon, return him safely to Earth before the decade is out. 3 paragraphs before that, or 2 paragraphs before that, he says, by the way, that speech was May 25th, 1961. Why is that date important? It was 6 weeks after Yuri Gagarin came out of orbit. So he says, if the events of recent weeks would not even mention the man's name, if the events of recent weeks are any indication of the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere, then we need to show the world the path to freedom over the path to tyranny. There was the battle cry against communism. It was a war driver.
Right.
The same war driver that if China says we want to put military bases on Mars, we're going to Mars. Money flows like rivers if you feel that your life is threatened.
But
you don't want to die, you know something else? You don't want to die poor.
No.
So money and economics makes things happen. Not just, we're explorers, we're discoverers, it's in our DNA, we're Americans, that's why we do this. That is not why we've ever done anything.
Okay, that's America. But,
America.
but Elon's a Bond villain.
Say it, America.
America.
Yeah, oh, that was good. Yeah, that was real. That was scary good.
I have flashbacks.
I know, it was like, that was a little too good right there.
No, but Elon's a Bond villain. So he's gonna go and want to do this. He's got a lot of enemies that he can use as test subjects to put on this thing.
He's a Bond
Brian
villain.
already thinks that when he launched the car into space, there was somebody's in the trunk there that he wanted to get rid of, and that's heading into the sun.
Inside the robot itself.
Yeah, that was him just saying, like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to launch a body to space, and people are going to cheer me on. And
that is way more effective than burying someone in concrete.
Right.
Right. Because you vaporize back into the atoms from which you came.
Right.
As you descend into the sun.
Right.
That felt like someone's DNA.
So that's the motivation now. You've got billionaires, almost trillionaires, who are bored. And they're like, this is the next thing.
Yeah, but they'll spend all their money and they'll get to Mars on a one-off.
Right.
But it's not going to become...
See, they're all excited about it.
I think she just got sent to Mars.
They'll go to Mars on a one-off. You can pool their money together and go to Mars, but is it a business case?
Right.
And are you doing right by the shareholders? Is that going to bring... That's what I'm saying. That's how actual capitalist systems work.
Right.
Governments can do it without an immediate return because they don't have a quarterly report. They barely have an annual report. They care about what, are we going to be here in 10 years and did I increase the tax base? There are other longer term goals that a government can invoke that businesses cannot, lest they be deemed irresponsible.
That being said, I still think Elon has a rocket ship in a volcano somewhere, and it's almost ready to go.
An underground with underground caverns in the empty volcano.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Petting his shaved cat, sitting on a rock with his monocle.
We will do it for $1 million.
Should we mention? Is this the new book?
Thank you for noticing it. It's been on the table and no one's noticed it yet.
Why has
Thank
no
you.
one noticed it?
I try to put it. I've been interviewed 8 times, and I get it closer to them, and nobody mentioned it.
That must be my copy. Then.
I saw it. I just thought he was tired of talking about it, so I was like, all right, we'll do something else.
So this book comes out in 3 days.
Yes, we heard that.
Yeah. Letters from an astrophysicist. Is there someone like Screamworthy famous over there? Is that what's going on?
No idea.
Someone.
Either that or they found a charging station that was open.
They found the free water.
Very good.
Yeah, they found the free water.
Very good. So this is a 101 letters. I've had an exchange with people who have different varying mental states of angst, challenges in life. Some people just happy and just want to know what an astrophysicist thinks of their new idea. Some of these are religious folks who want to reconcile God with science. Others, the 3 letters from prisoners.
It's an adorable little book.
It's so it's a. There's a person here who asks the question: do I think there's a large hairy ape wandering the Pacific Northwest?
Joe Rogan does.
He didn't utter the name Bigfoot. But so I have this exchange with this person about big hairy apes in the Northwest. I treat everyone's question seriously in this book, and I want you to see these exchanges. So that one is a little more fun, playful, but there are others that are very serious. There's a man who was just diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's got 6 months, and he took the time to write to me. He was retired because he wanted to thank me for my books and videos that kept him intellectually active in retirement. And he says, "Don't feel sorry for me. I had a great life. I just wanted to say goodbye." And it was like, and I had to put in the postscript, he died 8 months later. And so, and I don't get to all my letters instantly, so he only had that letter a couple of months, So anyhow, so there's some sad moments in here, but there's some happy moments too.
Do you throw in like a joke email, like when people used to correspond playing chess back in the day? Do you just post like a chess or a
chess
bridge move? And no one explain it? You just put there, like you have to be old enough to know the reference, and then you moved on to the next thing?
No, I did not do that.
Next book.
There's a chapter in here called Hate Mail, and it includes an angry, pissed off letter from a 4th grader. And of course, why are they angry?
Pluto.
Always Pluto.
Always Pluto.
Always Pluto. So the people still have Pluto issues. Turns out that girl is now in college, majoring in environmental studies. And so when we finally dug her up, it's hard to reverse find someone.
Right.
So, but we found her, and she gave permission to reproduce the letter. So I reproduced in facsimile the letter, so you see the misspellings and the line zips down. And my favorite part of it is, dear Dr. Can you write back soon after she chastises me for bemoaning Pluto? Write back soon, but not in cursive because I can't read cursive. Aww. That's the cutest thing ever. Totally cute.
That's actually a dead language now. They don't even teach that at school anymore.
They don't teach it.
We are out of time, unfortunately. The book, Letters from an Astrophysicist, out now. You can go and get it. What's the price point on that? Are we looking at?
It's a small book. It's this. I'm not avoiding the question. I'm just saying it's a small book. It's the same size as the Astrophysics for People in a Hurry.
Right.
So it feeds that marketplace. We still want to learn something, but you don't have time to sit down and commit. Okay. So each of these letters is you would dip in and you take them in doses. I think the price point is Amazon price point or commercial price point. It's under $20. I think Amazon you can pick it up for much less.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And did you do the audiobook for it?
I voiced the audiobook. However, because they're questions, we got voice actors to be the questioners, which is way more fun. That's really cool. And now you can genuinely justify having multiple voices. If it's a novel, it gets weird if everyone takes a different character in a novel. So they usually leave one reciting, one narrator. So this, oh my gosh, no, it's fun. And I was in studio, or at least in connected studio, with all of them when they read it. And yeah.
Neil, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thanks for your annual interest in what the hell we do here.
I would like it to be more, but that's all Ben lets us have. It's once a year.
Ben is a taskmaster.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, man.
I do.
It's Erik Nagel.
We're back here covering New York Comic Con 2019, Erik and Giddles. We just spoke with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Really good dude. Always love talking to that guy. Moving on to more stuff with the floor. I did see a lot more vendors on the floor, but they were not, like the big displays weren't there, as you said earlier. A lot of the bigger vendors were not really present either. It was a lot more smaller vendors, and that's fine too, because a lot of times when you have the smaller vendor area, it's a lot of people with unique skills and talents, be it artwork, be it engraving, be it some kind of figure or some kind of creation. Sometimes it's even clothing, exclusive clothing that they make. But I saw less of those too, and more of the people that were just reselling Funko Pops or selling those mystery blocks that look like cool things. It says
looks like a Mario brick box or like
the coin thing.
The controller or the radio rather from Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that.
Right, and it says $30 with guaranteed $100 worth of merchandise in the $30 box, and a lot of toy resellers, comic book resellers, things like that, which was a bit disappointing. I did go shopping. I did do some of the stuff, which we'll get into a little bit later of some of the areas that we went shopping to. Obviously, we did Funko, which comes up later in the program. We saw our pals over at Spitfire Labs who do some great artwork, which we'll talk about again a little later in the program. But I do want to talk about Thursday night. So Thursday, usually, if we don't have a lot of interviews, is our big shopping day. We try to go buy the exclusives or the pieces that are just available that we want so that we don't have to worry about shopping the rest of the time at the convention. So Thursday comes around. I went over to some of the booths to try to get exclusive stuff, either for myself or I do a lot of Christmas shopping, New York Comic Con too, for people that I know that like things. And
it's a good place to do that if you know like a nerdy friend or relative and you want to get them stuff. It's a good spot.
Yeah, you can get all the stuff that they could normally get if you want, but going for the exclusive stuff is what makes it cool, because then when that comes around, it's like, yeah, you couldn't get that anywhere, or it's too expensive on the secondary market, but I got it for the price that you should at the convention. Well, I go to some of the places, and the lines are so out of hand. Like, at least with Funko, they allotted where you have their portion of the floor is their store, their storage area. But then up in the front part there is a queue. So it's a zigzag line, long zigzag line, to keep the people off the floor, keep them at their facility, keep it organized for each session that you had a lottery ticket to come and buy.
Yep.
Everybody else next to them was the FYE booth. If you don't know what FYE is a store. It used to be, back in the day, Sam Goody. They bought out all Sam Goody, and now it's FYE for the last 20 years. Well, FYE was there, had their FYE shop. But the line had one wraparound line with the ropes. But then past that line, it was wrapping around other people's booths.
Oh, yeah. It's always a mess.
So at one point I'm like, oh, it's wrapped around here. This must be the end of the line. And I go to the end of the line, and there's always some, people that are on the line that are shopping that feel like they need to help out. Like, oh, I'll direct traffic. It's like, shut the fuck up. You're here to buy a Funko Pop cereal. Shut up. So he's like, oh, the line goes over there. You got to find this guy. He's got a white beard. And I just looked at him. I said, no. What do you mean, no? I said, I'm not here to seek out who's in charge. If they're not here, I'm standing here. I don't care if they're continuing the line over at another booth. Let somebody come over and tell me that I have to go stand on there, and I'll gladly do it. But I don't know this dude. He could be lying to me. And if they're that disorganized, then I'm going to take my luck here and get on the line, right? So I didn't even bother at that point. Went to go over to our pals NECA and Kid Robot, their joint venture. And went to go see Randy, but Randy was so busy with meetings and other stuff that day, and he was only there for the first day, so I didn't really get a chance to go and talk to him. That's the only thing that's missing from this show, is that we didn't talk to anybody over at NECA or Kid Robot. But they were selling some stuff that I wanted to get, and they had some exclusives, and I go, okay, I go to the line, and I find the end of the line. They said, oh no, the line goes back over here. Oh, okay. So I walk over there, and it was somebody from Kid Robot, so I was okay. Walk over to the line, because they were at the far end. They were on the left side by the wall.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you got to go that line there. Okay, so I walk over the line, and there was another person there. He said, yeah, the line's back over there. Okay, so I go, now I'm 2 rows away, and they're still pointing me to another line. I go, oh, I'm not doing this.
Not worth it.
This line is way too fucking long. I can't spend hours here just to try to get this stuff.
No.
And the reason why I tell you all of this is because 7 o'clock on Thursday, which is when the main floor is closing. It's not the lower levels or the panels or other exhibits, but the main big floor at 7 o'clock is when they start closing. So
Artist Alley stays open, I think, till 8:30, but the floor is shut.
Yeah, the bottom floor where the panels and stuff are still going, so that you can always walk down there. So the big floor is shutting down. They kill half the lights, and you hear it. It's a big... like when the lights turn off, it's like stadium lighting where you hear the noise reverb all over the place.
Yeah.
So now it's half dark and everyone's like, all right, I gotta go. And as I'm walking towards the front, I said, how many people were dumb enough to fall for this and got offline? So I zoomed back over to Kid Robot, and I saw that a lot of people left, and there was a guy holding a sign, a cardboard sign that said only this one particular item available from the exclusive, which is the one item I wanted, right?
Nice.
Because it was for somebody for Christmas. And So I walk over there and I was like, perfect. You only have these? Yeah, that's all we have left of the exclusives for today. Perfect. So I get on the little line there. It moves up pretty fast. Now I'm about 3 people away and it's taking forever. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I finally get up to the front and I find out the one thing that they said it was left of the exclusive. You have to buy it, but then you have to pay for shipping and they get your information to send it to you because they don't have it there.
Oh, geez.
And I said, the guy with
Star
the
Wars
sign
toy thing all over again. Buy it now, and then we'll send it to you when we have it.
Yeah, so I said, the guy on the back there is holding up a sign saying you only have this. And she said, what? I said, yeah, it says this is the only of the exclusive you have left. Turns out they had the other exclusives. It's the one thing I wanted, which was the thing that wasn't there.
Oh, so they just had the wrong sign.
Right. So I wound up buying I bought that exclusive. I paid for the shipping because it was a gift for someone in my family. But the thing I wasn't thinking I was going to buy, I wound up buying because it was there, and she knocked $1 off, or a couple bucks off of it, so I could buy it. Which was Kid Robot made has the Simpsons line, right? I buy a lot of their vinyl stuff. They made a kind of a weird rainbow metallic glass looking thing of Blinky, the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons, made into sushi. So it's Blinky wrapped in seaweed on a bed of rice. And I said, I wanted that, but it wasn't the main thing I was going to go for. So I said, if it was here, all right, I guess I'll take it. So she knocked a couple bucks off because of everything that was going on. Got that, got the thing I was looking for. It's going to be shipped to me. And I walked away. And I see another line for Entertainment Earth, which I didn't realize at this point has either been purchased or has a co-deal with Target, because they had the big Funko version of the Target dog in the corner of their area where people were going and taking photos with the Target dog. And I noticed the lines right over here for the so I know the registers are right over here, but the lines wrapped around the back portion of there, and it's so unorganized. People are just hovering all over the place.
Yeah, just
so
a mess.
I went and looked at so they have the line of registers. Then they have this big glass display case where I walk over and people are looking at the stuff that they have available. And to my left, there was this big Hispanic family who were buying things, and I wound up talking to the guy because he had some things in his hand, and we're talking about the different figures and stuff. And all very nice people. They were very, very sweet people. And talking to them, and I realized, well, there's 4 of them buying things. So they're going one after another. They're in a group. And they see me talking and everything. I said, I'm going to test my luck and see if after the 4th person is done, if I just stand right behind her, can I get on the line in order?
Yep.
So I did that. I kept talking, whatever. The 4th person finishes. The guy at the front hands me the menu, and he says, what would you like? I went, perfect. And I acted like I was there the whole time, didn't look around, didn't anything. Ordered
just like this.
Ordered all this stuff and threw my card down. He put it in a big red bag. I was done and out. So I cut 2 major lines, got all the exclusive. I got an exclusive that I wanted, plus an exclusive I didn't think I wanted, and then walked past another place and bought some of their exclusives that I wasn't planning on buying to begin with, but because they were dirt cheap, you're buying them there from the retailer. Why not? So I cut 2 major lines, came back with all this huge stuff. That never happens, but the way everything was so off this year, it's like, of course this happens. And I tried it again with the Predator thing, like I said earlier, and I did it one more time, and I'm trying to remember where else I was shopping too.
I actually got really lucky on something like that because I was picking up stuff for my friend. He always gives me money every year. He says, "Hey, like buy me a bunch of stuff." He was like, yeah, there's the one exclusive I want. He's like, if you can get it. I'm like, okay. So I went over. It was at the Hallmark station. It was a metal Spider-Man Christmas tree ornament or something like that. So I just get over there and I just get in line. I'm like what any normal person would do. There's a line. You just get in it. So I'm like sitting in this line for like 40 minutes or so. And I'm like, it's moving pretty quick. I get up to the front and the person's like, oh, do you have your ticket to get the exclusive? And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, you need like a ticket that says that you confirmed to buy your exclusive. And I looked at them and I'm like, I didn't know I needed that.
Oh, is this like the lottery for Funko?
Yeah. And I'm like, yo, I didn't know I needed that. And then he just like looks over and he's like looking around. And he's like, yeah, you have to. And I'm like, well, no offense, but that lady over there just told me to get in line if I wanted to buy anything and didn't tell me I needed any kind of ticket. So then he goes over to the lady, and he's like, yo, did you just tell this guy he can get in line? She's like, yeah. She's like, did you ask him about the ticket? And she said, no. So then the guy comes back. He's like, well, I mean, you waited 45 minutes. He's like, are you buying a lot of stuff? I'm like, dude, I just need this one Christmas tree ornament. It's for a friend. And he just like looked around. He's like, here you go. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Wow,
so
you lucked out.
Yeah, because I waited for 45 minutes, and because they had a whole system there, like they were supposed to check you in, make sure you had a ticket to wait online, and because they had a breakdown in communication, like what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Like just not sell me an exclusive that they clearly have more than enough of.
They get out that giant boot, like the Australian episode of The Simpsons, and they boot you out of the line.
Yeah, exactly. So I got lucky on that aspect, but
I meant to go over to the Hallmark place, but I guess I'm glad I didn't. Then, if I didn't know you needed a ticket in order to get into the line to purchase stuff.
Yeah, you had to get a ticket, and it was like every hour they would only give out like 50 tickets or something like that for the hour. So the one line when I got on was literally the last of the exclusive line. So it was just like after this was done, like it was a free for all for the exclusive. So I got lucky, but you know, it wasn't even for me. It was for a friend. So that's how it goes at the con.
Oh, good, you got that. I'm gonna have to go online and see what the Hallmark exclusives were, because sometimes Hallmark's got some cool stuff. For
it was
for
there was some
Christmas
Star Trek
trees.
plushies.
No.
Some Star Wars pins, a bunch of stuff in The Mandalorian. I guess they have a tie-in with that.
Makes sense because that comes out in November.
Yeah, and then just like lots of Christmas tree ornaments and stuff like that.
That's the stuff I like.
It's Hallmark, so it's just like that kind of stuff. It's like little knick-knacky stuff, stocking stuffer type stuff. And then
Hallmark
Hallmark
has great Christmas tree ornaments because each year they have different things they put out there. Like anything you're a fan of, they probably have it available as a Christmas tree ornament.
Like that Spider-Man thing I picked up for my friend, it weighed like half a pound. I was like, you're gonna have to get a pretty big tree to hold this thing. It's no joke. It's a solid ornament.
Well, that's enough for shopping for now. We'll get back into some more floor hijinks and adventures in a little bit. We should go to our next interview where we go up to the press room again and we talk to Steve Lemme and Kevin Heffernan. You may know them from the Broken Lizard crew, Super Troopers, Club Dread, Beer Fest,
Slammin' Salmon, Puddle Cruisers, a bunch of other movies that you've never heard of that I've seen.
I don't think I've seen Slammin' Salmon.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. They open up a salmon restaurant and a seafood restaurant, and then they have to make a certain amount of there's a competition between the waiters to see who can make the most money in tips by the end of the night. So they're all just trying to out-waiter the other people, and it's pretty ridiculous.
I definitely need to go see that movie. Then
it's really funny. You see what's the guy's name? I can't remember the guy's name. He's a big black dude, actor, tough guy.
Terry Crews?
No.
Ving Rhames?
Yes. And he plays like the boxer who opens the restaurant, and there's a scene where he's just like beating the shit out of a fish, and it's great.
Like Rocky punching the meat?
Yeah, he's just punching the fish, and it's like flopping around the table, and he's just punching it.
All right, I need to go watch that movie, and you need to go.
It's really funny.
You at home or you wherever you are need to listen to our interview with these guys as we talk about their brand new show called
Michael Clark
Duncan.
My bad.
Oh,
sorry.
He's deceased.
Yeah, I know.
You need to go and listen to our interview with these guys as they talk about their new show, Tacoma FD, which is coming out on True TV. Look, I'll give you a little heads up. He talks about the fact that they sold 15. They sold 15 pilots, and this is the first one to develop out of the 15 they sold.
Yep.
They're doing a ton of work. Also, because when I mentioned we were talking to these people, some people asked, are they ever going to do Pot League? Are they ever going to do Pot Fest? Are they ever going to? Yeah, Beer League is Artie's movie. Pot Fest. Are they ever going to do any other sequels? And they talk about Pot Fest, and they talk about Super Troopers 3.
They do.
And you're going to find all about it right now as we go up to the press room and talk Tacoma FD.
It's Erik Nagel at New York Comic Con.
Let's do this.
Giddles, we're here in another press room for New York Comic Con for Tacoma FD, which we're very excited about here. We're here with Kevin Heffernan and Steve Lemme.
What up?
We've talked to these guys before on Opie and Anthony and also on this show here for various projects, and we're very excited now for Tacoma FD.
Yeah.
Does this... It's not like a lot of your work all matches together. It's like, oh, they're just doing the same thing over and over. But you can see your writing style and your influence, and that's what people love, seeing your new projects in there. Do we see your past? Do we see the style that you guys have made your own in this show, or are you going for something completely different with the writing?
No. I mean, this is mustaches and uniforms again.
Nice.
Right? It's the...
Let's not be cynical about this here, but...
Super Troopers in a fire station.
That's exactly right. No, I mean, that was... The genesis was... Look, it came from a mercenary point of view. Kevin and I had sold 14 TV shows to all the networks there were over a course of 14 years.
Yeah.
Couldn't get on the air, and it wasn't like we weren't doing anything else in the industry, so... Finally, we said, okay, what do we have to do to get on the air this year? What is it that people really like about us? And we knew we had Super Troopers 2 coming out, and we were like, well, they do like the mustaches, don't they? And so we thought, okay, let's figure out how to give them something like that, and we worked it backwards and, came up with firefighters in the rainiest city in the country who have a lot of time on their hands. But it actually turns out that is something that first responders have responded to the most about the show, is that their job isn't just like the hour-long dramas where they're all male models and they're fighting fires and then crying about it afterwards.
Rescuing cats from trees and all that,
Yeah, their thing is we live in...
Well-placed soot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like glittery soot.
Yeah.
No, these guys spend 24 hours together at a time, and they go through dangerous episodes, but then they fuck around a lot of the time, and that's something that all firefighters talk about. And so I think
the big thing now. How do you get one of these, man?
A mic flag?
How do you get a mic flag? How do you get your name on a mic?
You either, one, work for a company that's willing to pay for it, or two, there's websites that if you're willing to pay for it.
So I can get one of these?
You can get one of those.
And what does something like this cost? Was it like a $5.99?
I think they're like $80.
$80
for the two of them.
They're no expense.
That's a racket.
And he's got, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great if you get your own and you just walk around, but it's not plugged in.
Sure.
You just have the mic and the mic flag and just talk to people.
Or like I bring it to my interviews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just use it when I get interviewed.
Yeah.
And see, here's the thing, though. You'd think it would go over the top, but it actually comes over the cord.
Yeah.
Sure.
All the way to the bottom there.
Look at this.
Don't
We
fuck
just
it up.
de-romanticized.
Don't fuck it up. That's Erik Nagel's fucking thing, man.
Dude, that's the American Eagle right there.
So the main location, what's the base? Is it the firehouse? Is it just the town itself? Like, where is the central point that they all come back to?
It's the station. I mean, I think that was like, the idea, you're talking to firefighters, that is their home. It's where they spend a 24-hour shift. They sleep there, they eat together, they do it all together. And so it became like, making a workplace comedy and have that be the hub. And then also for budget reasons, once you build that fire station, it's easier to just keep shooting there. So you don't have to pay money to go somewhere else.
Well, that was going to be my next question for the location. Did you find like an old firehouse, or were you renting one that wasn't really being used? But you said you built your own.
Well, we did, because we shot the pilot in a real fire station, a working fire station, and we displaced the firefighters for like a week. And then we realized when you do a series, you can't displace the real firefighters.
Yeah.
They
Houses
have a job
are burning
to do.
down, people are dying,
That's
car
right.
accidents.
They have shit they need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it was so worth it.
Yeah.
And then we went around to find a fire station that didn't exist anymore and to shoot there. And we found a couple of them, and then we realized the reason that they don't use them anymore is because they're all filled with asbestos, which is another kind of weird irony. Fire stations shut down by asbestos.
Yeah.
Well, it is a retardant.
We thought to ourselves, how bad could asbestos poisoning be if you're exposed to it for about 13 weeks?
Right.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
So we had to build our own fire station. So we did it.
Yeah. But once a season, we fight a fire. And in season 1, we fought a fire at a weed dispensary, in Washington State. And people really liked that episode. And this season, we are fighting another fire. I won't tell you where it is.
Okay.
But it's going to be good.
So when doing the fire department scenario, do you look back, not just like at movies, but do you look back at maybe like Dennis Leary's series or something, like say, what worked there, what can we take, what can we adapt and make our own? Or did you go, let's just fuck this up and go for broke with this?
Steve Martin's Roxanne.
Yes.
We looked at that. Yeah, we looked at that. I don't know, it became hard. Like we would watch that stuff and then we're like, I felt like we were seeing stories that we didn't want to rip off.
It's like this whole show is just constantly backdraft.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on with backdraft? We make jokes about backdraft in the show, but it got to the point that where you realize that every firefighter that you meet, they're mostly crazy dudes because they're all adrenaline junkies, and every one of them that you meet has like 15 amazing stories. And so we just started talking to those guys, and every guy that we talked to gave us like an awesome plot of a show or whatever. So we kind of realized we didn't really have to watch the other firefighters, we just talk to real firefighters,
Is there any kind of Easter egg somewhere in the show where like maybe you got the movie poster somewhere in the back room to something that you did, or a song plays that was from another movie, or a character that was a one-off little thing and shows up as another one-off in there? Do you have anything like that peppering in for your audience? Or
we have a bunch of Easter eggs, and a lot of them are spur of the moment things. And other things we write about. We've got some nods to Club Dread, and
oh man,
I think we popped off a Dimpus Burger.
We might put a Coconut Pete song into.
Yeah,
that'd be so great.
Yeah, so it's like we're not necessarily into the idea of like crossing universes. We're not
only because we're not allowed to. This is Fox owns that universe.
So you can't be like, oh, I have a cousin who's a cop. Like
you can do that.
You can do that. Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's like as we're writing, we'll be like, we need a name for him, or a joint. Dimpus Burger. Fine, there it is.
We'll steal something from that.
That's awesome.
Since you brought up Coconut Pete, I have to ask our mutual friend Chad Dukes.
Chad, he's got a band.
He's got a tribute band,
right,
called Ponytails and Cocktails.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you got a chance to hear it?
They've sent. I think they put stuff either put on Twitter or whatever. I've heard on the internet. I haven't gone to see them.
Yeah, but it's up on iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah.
They charted in the top 10 in the comedy thing the first week that it went out, and I think he just almost had a heart attack based on that.
That's from that.
So how does that make you feel? Because obviously you have fans of all the properties, but to have somebody do cosplay is another thing, because you do see Super Trooper characters now and then. But then to find somebody that said, you know what, this weird guy that was already ripping off Jimmy Buffett, they're now going to do a tribute kind of spoof on that spoof. Yeah. So now it's like 2 times removed, and they're doing well with that. How does that feel?
It's awesome, because, going back to the original thing, we went with Bill Paxton and showed that movie to Jimmy Buffett. And Bill Paxton sat next to Jimmy Buffett watching him rip off Jimmy Buffett. And I always thought that was hysterical. And now they're, like Chad and those guys are doing the songs. And the other weird thing was, like, the songs fell through the cracks. Like, when we made that movie, they weren't on the soundtrack because the studio thought they wouldn't be funny to put on the soundtrack, which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
And then, so they were just sitting out there, and nobody was claiming them or anything. And then people start to play them or talk about them, and we put a record out, like with all the songs on there, and it like sold out of the Broken Lizard store or whatever. So.
Yeah, it was. We put out a Coconut Pete's Greatest Hits album, which was just the 4 songs.
Well, even The Simpsons did a sort of a little take on what you were doing on one of their episodes. They did a future jump where Lisa's president, Bart's the Billy Carter of her presidency, and he looks like Coconut Pete. He's walking around with the Hawaiian shirt and flip flops, and he's doing Pina Colada Berg, and he's doing all that stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, I know that it was funny because Family Guy actually directly referred to Club Dread. And we're still trying to figure out if it was a respectful thing or a disrespectful thing. We'll have to ask Seth MacFarlane about that.
I'm going to say respectful.
It seemed like it. Perhaps.
I can tell. It used to be in the earlier seasons, it was kind of walking a weird line. You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But they've gotten to such a point where they just don't give a fuck anymore on that show, where they'll sit there and go, no, she's a fat pig, we don't like her. Like, he'll look at Peter will look at the camera and go, oh, that's not a joke. Sure. They're really taking a legit shot now. So if you don't know, that is their way of saying, we like it, that's our homage to you. Unless because now they'll just come out and say how they want people dead, how they hate everything. It's not a joke anymore. You think it's a joke, but like, no, they look at the camera and they tell you, this is fucked up.
I was going to ask, because you're working on doing Tacoma FD, is there any other like Broken Lizard movies in the works? Because I'm a big fan. I've had since Puddle Cruiser. Like I have all of them. I'm like, I love your comedy, and I just want to know if there's any other movies that you guys are working on.
Thank you. Yeah, we are writing Super Troopers 3 as we speak. And
is it a crowd thing like 2?
No. This will be Super Troopers 2 was very successful, and so
we proved we could make them some money. So now
I was with all my friends. We were the Kickstarter people, like in our
awesome.
seats.
Thank you.
Like,
that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. No, and the truth is, the beauty of the Super Troopers 2 campaign was that I think it really brought us together with the fans. You know, as cliche as it sounds, we wound up meeting a ton of the fans. Some of the perks where you could come visit the set, and of course we had events like we had a beer fest in Chicago, and on the street, we'll be walking on the street just like what happened right now, where people are like, "Hey man, I gave to your campaign." And you're like, "Thank you so much. Without you, the movie couldn't have been made."
He gets choked up. He gets choked up.
I get emotional about this, but it's true, and it's like it kind of galvanized us with the fans, you know, in a way that I don't know that other people have. You hear about people doing meet and greets where they charge money to, you know, you can spend for $500, you can come backstage and hang out with us for 5 minutes, you know, and it's like this is a different thing where these guys made the movie happen, and we really appreciate it. Now, it was grueling for us, and Super Troopers 3, the studio said, well, we didn't make as much money as we could have. This is the really cynical version. Anyway, we're negotiating, and we're writing it right now, Super Troopers 3. And we have another project set up, and then we're talking about Potfest also, the sequel to Beer Fest.
Oh, hells yeah.
I love Beer Fest. It's one of those movies that, where here's what's coming. When you're home alone, like holiday time, something like that, it's like, I don't really feel like going out. The weather's kind of shitty, and it's like, what am I gonna? You go through your collection and go, I could watch Beer Fest again, and you go in there and Das Boot and all that, and it's like, even though you've seen it a million times, it doesn't wear down like a movie that, like if you were flipping the cable and Pacific Rim's on FXX again, and you know, I was like, I love it, but I can't watch it again. But you could throw Beer Fest on all the time, and you'll always either find some kind of nuance or somebody's expression, or it's like, oh, I didn't know that song played during that movie. Yeah, that your movies have this rewatchability that a lot of movies don't have. Sometimes you go to these big blockbusters or really intense thrillers, they're well written, and you watch it and go, but I don't think I'll watch it a second time. Your movies, I could pop it on in any place, and I'm sure the same with Brian there, and you go, I'll watch the rest of this all the way through. Even if it was on cable, it's like, I'm 40 minutes late from the start. That's fine. I'm good. I'm here for the long haul, and I'll wait for the end of it.
Like I came across Beer Fest on TV there like a couple weeks ago, and I just went and I just kept watching. Like I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. It's one of my favorites that we've done. Yeah. But I think that's, you know, our process from the independent film days when we couldn't improvise. We would do 20 drafts. Like Puddle Cruiser, we did so many drafts with that script. Super Troopers, the same thing. Even Club Dread. So we kept that going so that when we make our movies, we have a base script that we think is hilarious. And then it's the same thing with Tacoma FD. Once you start adding on the little improvs and the extra little things, those are the things that maybe go overshadowed by a monster joke, but it's something happening in the background, and on your third or fourth or fifth viewing, you're like, did you notice what that guy's doing back there? Like, there's some bullshit going on in the background back there, and it's like, those were the things that I liked when I was watching movies when I was a kid.
Yeah, and we have to go, but like with a touch on that, I think it was in the Dukes of Hazzard movie where I think it was you guys walked by in the background and someone high-fived at one point, and that was it. And I thought it was such a nice little nod to it, because I know that you guys did it, and I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh, they're just there for this. There's one quick scene, just a high-five, and that was it. And I thought that was great.
Thank you.
Tacoma FD coming to True TV. Now, all we heard was 2020. Do you have can we whittle that down a little bit? Do we know a date or at least a month?
I think it's March 28th. I think it's March 28th.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
that'll be the debut of the season.
You got your DVRs already set for Impractical Jokers. Just set it also for Tacoma FD. You will not be disappointed. These guys have not let you down with anything that they put out here, and we're looking forward to that. And again, Potfest, since you mentioned it, really excited.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time around.
Thanks for having us.
It's Erik Nagel.
And we're back here. Those were the guys from the Broken Lizard comedy troupe, group, whatever you want to call them.
What great guys.
They are. They're such great guys. This isn't the first time we've had them on either, but they're always easygoing, and they're willing to talk about fun stuff or even stuff that, I mean, they have no controversy around them other than maybe contents for their movies, but other than that, they're really straight up dudes. I know Kevin, maybe Steve too. I know they do comedy shows.
Yeah,
it's sort of they're doing stand-up comedy, but it's also with stories. It's sort of like in that Mick Foley type of way,
like a one-man show type
one-man
thing,
show kind of things like that, right? And it's so glad to hear that Potfest is coming. Super Troopers 3, which I had no idea was even being worked on.
Yep.
Very excited.
That's what happened. That's what happens when you make the studio a lot of money and they didn't have to spend any money. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, like totally do this again. That was a great benefit for us.
Right. But more great things to come from them. I gotta go check out the Slam and Salmon. I gotta go rewatch Club Dread again.
But it's just how nice just how generally nice they are. Like they literally just came over to the table like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, no pretension. Like, oh, hey, who are you? As you can see, they thought we were a different show based on the name.
Right.
They thought we were the American Eagle Show, but we are not the American Eagle Show. We are the It's Erik Nagel Show.
Correct. Anyway, so that happened. I do want to talk about the fact that there were some shows that we did miss out on. Now, it was a really weird year for booking shows, interviews and guests and what have you, because I think a lot of the properties that were being booked were being handled by third-party publicists.
Yeah.
Meaning that the production company or the network that is in charge or owns these properties would hire other publicity firms to handle the stuff in New York because maybe they're based out of Atlanta or California or somewhere, right?
Yep.
So dealing with a third-party publicist, sometimes things are just not really handled the best way. And I noticed that a lot of roundtable bookings were happening for all of this press.
Mostly.
And if you don't understand what that is, a round table is exactly what you think. It's a big round table. They bring one talent over to sit at the table, and the table has maybe 8 to 10 different people on there. They have their recorder set up. They have their little camera set up, and it's usually for bloggers, website people, or even print journalism. They go there, they're asking questions, and they have their audio recordings of it so that when they write their stuff up, they can base it on this is what was said. But it's not the ideal place for radio broadcasts or even television interviews, news clips, anything like that. That's what a press line is for. So you would normally have a press line with the step and repeats. People would be escorted down by publicists. They'd introduce you and you talk to them for a few minutes. Then they move on to the next one and to the next one. And that's how you would air things. Well, a lot of this stuff was being straight roundtable or, in a couple instances, press conference, where they would sit at a table with a bunch of microphones and people would just try to ask questions. And that sounds horrible. For one, that's for the news. Like, you watch that on TV, it's because a news briefing is happening or a sports interviews happening after a championship game or something like that, right? They're just used for news clips, not really for watching part of a program or definitely listening to on the radio. You're not going to sit there and listen to a press conference unless it's something immediately breaking. So when this was happening, I'd reach out to each publicist. Is it only roundtable? Yes. All right. Well, that's unfortunate. Then we're going to have to decline. Now, in the past, you would walk there and you'd tell them this and you explain what it is. Or if you walked in there and you showed them what you were doing, more times than not, they were pretty understanding. They said, oh, I see what you're talking about. Well, we could give you 5 minutes with one person. We can't give you everybody. That's fine. That's fantastic. We'll be happy to do that, and we'll cover it great for you. This year was not to be so, because a lot of the times we booked some stuff, they were saying it's only roundtable. I said, okay, well, we can't air that, so we're going to have to decline the invite. And some of them were just, okay, all right, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. Didn't care. Others that did care, they said, well, why can't you air any of that? I said, did you ever try to listen to a roundtable discussion on the radio? Doesn't sound good. Can't air that. Plus all the legality about getting permissions from all the other people that are talking that are not the talent. I can't go around and get permission from everybody who's asking questions or 9 people talking over each other so we can try to air this. It's going to sound horrible, and I don't want to go through that. Nor I don't know any broadcast company that would go through all of that. So
yeah,
they would, and then it would be like, that's the best we can do. I'm sorry. Well, we missed out on a lot of stuff like that, and it turns out not just us, but a lot of other outlets, bigger outlets, even missed out on. I know ABC Radio walked away from a couple of things because of the way it was being handled. They couldn't air anything like that. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that we did miss out on. We missed out on Apple TV invited us to come check out this new show called Servant, which has...
That's the M. Night Shyamalan show, I believe?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
That has Lauren Ambrose, Toby Kebbel, Rupert Grint from Harry Potter. He's in it. And M. Night was supposed to be there. And we got that. And that was one of our first things on Friday. And then earlier that morning, I got an email saying that they were not able to help us out with any kind of one-on-one thing like that. It was going to have to be a round table. So that got canceled. Who else did we talk to?
I think we missed Expanse because of a press line confusion thing.
Yes, The Expanse had some weird thing where we were supposed to be there in the afternoon at a set time, which I have the confirmation for, to talk to the cast of The Expanse. And then apparently they switched to something at the like late Friday night. So to be there first thing Saturday morning for press opportunities. I'm sorry, photo opportunities. This was just going to be their photo line stuff as they were doing panels and other shit that day. And apparently they wanted to squeeze us in during the photo stuff to take the to do the interviews, but I did not see that email because they sent it to me late Friday night. And by Friday night I was already sick. By day 2, when that day wrapped, I came home, I had a fever, my head was congested, and I said I can't do it. I just went to bed.
Yeah, that's what you get for cutting the line and playing video games with dirty controllers. These little snot-nosed kids are playing all day. You don't touch anything at the con, Erik.
Right.
You get dead.
So then we had DJ Don Diablo, who's putting out a brand new comic book, which I got here somewhere. I can't know where. I don't know.
There were like 3 DJs there that were putting out comic books.
Right.
Like, it's pretty crazy how the DJs are trying to get into the graphic novel or comic book business by basically writing characters about themselves.
Right. It's like, how do I become a superhero or some kind of tech genius that becomes an evil scientist? And let's make me a comic book.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent. The DJ's becoming a comic book is the equivalent of actors and everybody else saying, "Oh, I'll just be a stand-up comedian."
Yeah, or actors being like, "I'll be a rapper." Like,
now we didn't get to. We were supposed to talk to Mr. Diablo, but our press conference for Lincoln, which is coming up next in the segment here, for the new NBC show, ran a little longer. And when they I guess started a little earlier than it was supposed to, and they were asking if we were coming over, and I wasn't going to walk away from Michael Imperioli from The Simpsons to go
from
over
The Simpsons.
From The Sopranos. Jesus.
Yeah, he played Bart. Yeah, I play his cousin Bart.
No, I'm looking at The Simpsons thing here on the console, and I spaced out.
Yeah, I'll never forget that episode where The Simpsons just cut to black.
So we weren't going to walk out on Michael Imperioli, which we probably should have because he was not good. We get over there.
He was, I have to say, and this is like, before the interview, he was the surliest man I've ever seen. Like, if they need him to be on The Simpsons, he could play surly.
One of the 7 Duffs. So we didn't get to talk to Don Diablo. Nope. Then, who else did we not talk to? We talked about The Expanse. Oh, Ghost Nation on the Travel Channel. They sent us an invite to come cover them. So we get over there, and I had spoke to somebody, and this is where the third-party stuff comes into play. Because I spoke to somebody, I said, look, this is what we have to do, even if I think it's only like 2 or 3 of these guys that do this ghost-busting stuff. So, and again, it's the Travel Channel. This is a very weak show. We figured it shouldn't be that difficult. And Travel Channel's like, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. We can set you up with, it's like, can we do all 3 at the same time? Yes, that's perfect. We can do all of that. So we get over there, and there's a nice lady sitting on a folding chair with a laptop checking people in for this little press room. And she said, oh, yeah, it's going to be a press conference style now. What do you mean? Well, they're going to be up there, and everyone can ask questions. And I just kind of rolled my eyes, and I said, all right, well, unfortunately, we can't do that because we can't air that. And she went, oh, okay. And that was it.
They didn't even care.
That was it. So that happened, or didn't happen. Then we were supposed to have this show called Next on Fox, which stars John Slattery from, him from Mad Men.
Yeah.
He's also Tony Stark's dad in the Marvel movies.
Yep. And this one actually sounded like a pretty cool concept. Like, it sounded like an interesting thing. Like, it might be like in a Black Mirror, Twilight Zone type vibe, but we didn't get a chance to talk to them.
Also had Eve Harlow from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in it, a couple of people from the Ozark on Netflix. And, I was interested in doing that, and that got scrubbed, too, because they were late in the day. They were like 5 o'clock. So they had other little things. They had panel, and then they were running late to that, and it was only going to be a roundtable. And then John Slattery was scrubbed from the thing. He was not going to be there.
Yeah, and then I think they had like a screening of the first episode that night somewhere too. So everyone was like in a rush to go to like one of those screenings. It was just a clusterfuck.
So that got scrapped. Then there were some properties that were there we saw that were not open to the press, which I didn't get. So at one point, we ran into Ming Chen, our buddy Ming from Comic Book Men, works with Brian Johnson and Kevin Smith stuff. And Ming was there crushing hard on the young boy that plays Will Robinson in Netflix Lost in Space.
Yep.
They were out there. I mean, it was funny to watch, just seeing them in the hallway. And he's the kid's walking around in a white Justin Bieber kind of suit that he would wear when he was a younger kid. And we see the whole cast for Lost in Space. And I said, this was not on the press stuff. This wasn't on any of this, the inquiries here. I wonder why they were here. Because they got a new season coming up, I think, in November, December. Yeah. But then we started finding out there were other properties that were there, too, that were not open to the press. They were just there to do their panel and do photos, I guess, and then they were gone. So this was something new about having other stuff booked for panel only or surprises. Like they had the Walking Dead stuff was there where they revealed what's her name coming back. Lauren Conrad's character.
Lauren Cohen.
Cohen's character. Maggie, right?
Maggie.
Yeah. So Maggie showed up because we ran into Hardwick too. Talked to him for a tiny bit. So that was just going to be a big reveal, which was fun. But there were other properties that all of a sudden were there, and everyone's like, I had no idea they were going to be here. So now this seems to be a thing.
Yeah.
Where things show up, so they don't tell the press, they don't tell other people that they're going to be. I get it for the fans, to have it at the panel for the big pops for that to go viral. But when that's done, then you still don't have it open for any kind of press or whatever. Seems to be weird. And I don't know if it was you that was telling me this or somebody else was telling me this. It seems to be they're relying less and less on press coverage for a lot of these things. Like they're not really waiting for Extra or Access Hollywood or any of the major radio stuff to do this stuff anymore, where they can just go out and do it, put out some kind of video, and that's all the press that they need.
I think where entertainment is right now, at least for this level of stuff where it's like the nerdy comic book stuff, I don't think that Extra and all those things have the pull that they have. I think the people who are putting out like podcasts and doing other reviews from like smaller sources actually have a bigger impact than Extra and like those Access Hollywood things, to be honest. Like that's how I feel. Like I think they might have more broad appeal to like people across the country, but I don't know if everyone's watching that stuff. I think the Comic-Con is people who are nerds who are specifically searching out stuff that they want.
Right.
And I don't know if that translates that well into the other stuff. And also, Access Hollywood's not going to show up if there's only 4 celebrities and no one knows who they are.
Right?
It's a tough thing for them.
Well, it was quite a trying ordeal, and then by the 4th day, I got so sick after Thursday the 3rd day, we had a full day of stuff. And we had about 6 interviews, and I think we did 2 because a lot of them kept getting canceled or switched on us and what have you. Then we had the after thing after the con where over for geek stuff they had to get together. We went there for a little bit. I left, went to get a train. It was around 9:45 at Penn Station, and there were no trains for the 10 o'clock hour, which I was like, how is this possible? There wasn't a train for me to get back to where I need to go till 11:13, something around there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not walking around again. I'm not going out. So I just plopped my stuff down. I, packed it in, had the bags wrapped around my arms, and I had pulled my hoodie down over. I had my headphones on. I just sat there because there's nothing I could do for over an hour. So I'm just kind of, nodding in and out. I'm leaning against the wall like a lot of other people are doing. And all of a sudden, somebody kicks my feet, right?
Yep.
And I startle. I'm like, what? And some guy's talking to me. I pull my earbud out. And I go, what? And it was a homeless guy asking me for money.
Yeah. Sure it wasn't me?
No, it was not you. It was a different homeless guy. He was asking me for money. Like he was annoyed that he had to wake me up to ask, or to get my attention to ask me for money. And I yelled, "No, get out of here." And he gave me like a dirty look and stuff, right? But then I saw apparently he was interrupting other people's conversations. Like if there was a little group of people, something, he'd kind of walk into the middle. So he was just really being assertive, which is, look, it sucks that he's homeless, but you don't start doing that to people, because that's when the cops walk over and say, all right, you need to fucking leave.
Yeah, you have to get out of here.
Yeah. So finally get on the train, finally get home. By the time I get home, it's like midnight. I am so sick. I wake up the next morning. My head is heavy, my chest is heavy, and I can't even function. And I had a grueling week of work coming up at the other place. So I said I had to cancel Sunday, I was pissed because there was a couple of properties on there that I wanted to talk to. I was excited.
Yeah, there was a couple,
but I could not breathe. I couldn't function. I was in bed the entire day on Sunday. I've never gotten that sick at a convention before, but this was, everybody at least has 1 year where they're kind of screwed up, and this was my year.
And I will say that this year was very different than the last 3 years of Comic-Con, where the last 3 years, as soon as October hits, we had a second summer for Comic-Con where it was like 80 to 85 every single day and everyone was sweating to death. This year, it started off with a 90-degree day on Monday.
And went to 40.
It dropped to 40 on Tuesday, and then literally bounced between 40 and 80 for the next 5 days. And I think everyone just
with
their
rain
immune system. Yeah, and everyone's immune system just got really fucked up from it because people were getting sick, and then they started going out, and then they started getting better. And it was just germs in the city thrive on weird weather patterns and just shit that happens. I'm sure other people in other parts of the country would be like, oh, that's just an old wives' tale, oh, it's colder, you're gonna get more sick. In the city, no, it's true. The temperature really affects when people get sick because there's so many more people and there's so many more hands and germs touching everything that I think this year it was just the perfect storm for it.
Well, it definitely was, because then I had to relax Sunday because Monday I had to be in early.
Even my phone got sick and died.
Yes, which we'll get into that into the next break. But Monday I had to go, and I was covering for people who were out this week. So I just ran through 4 grueling days and had to be in early in the morning. And so I was doing all of that stuff the entire day, Monday through Thursday. Didn't have time to do any of it. This is why everything got delayed. Between being sick and covering and work and other stuff, I didn't have time to even edit down the interviews and everything else that we had to do. Brian had a whole bunch of issues, which we'll get into in the next break, with his phone and just stuff going on in his life, which was delaying us from getting all of this done. And then Friday, finally had a day off, went to the doctor, and he said, oh, yeah, you have a sinus infection. When did you get this? I said, last Friday. He goes, why did you only come in now? And I said, I didn't have time. I just didn't have time to go to the doctor. So gave me steroids and an antibiotic stuff. And I was posting over the previous weekend that, that I'm sick and had this. Somebody wrote me and said where they work, I believe he's in Oklahoma, said that because of the wind and the dust and everything is so commonplace for a lot of people working outside there that this just is a regular occurrence for people getting sinus infections down there.
Oh, yeah.
He said what you need to do is that you go, they give you a Z-Pack and they give you a steroid shot. And I said, I've never heard of the steroid shot. I said, I've gotten sinus infections before, but they've given you, usually the steroid and the antibiotic. That you take the steroid for a few days and then you switch to the antibiotic for the next 5 days or whatever. I said, never heard of this stuff. So now that I know there's a shot, I might just get the shot so I don't have to worry about, the pill regimen.
Yeah, I mean, if it works.
If they even offer it. I've never heard it even being offered. But it's good to know. Now I know, and knowing is half the hassle. G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
All right, let's go into our next interview here. We'll get this done and out of the way with, and then we'll come back and talk about some more stuff. We went to go and talk to the cast of Lincoln, which is a brand new show coming to NBC, which is based on the Bone Collector series.
Yeah.
What is the Bone Collector series, Giddles?
Well, I didn't personally did not know it was a series, but I had seen the original movie, and the original movie is about a serial killer who abducts and kills people, and he is called the Bone Collector. And apparently there was a whole series of books that were made about it. It's kind of like when Dexter came out, and people were like, oh, this is based on a book. Like, I didn't know that the Bone Collector was based on a book. So this is a true crime show with police officers, and they are tracking down serial killers, and it's both an episodic and season-long story arc. But you'll hear from them, from the actors.
Yes, we spoke
all about it.
We spoke to Arielle, Kebbel, Russell Hornsby, and Michael Imperioli, not from The Simpsons, but from The Sopranos. And he was a bit difficult to talk to, but
he didn't look like he wanted to talk to anybody ever. Like, even outside of this, like if he was at a store and someone was like, what do you want? He'd be like, oh fuck, they're talking to me. Like, that's what he seemed like.
Remember in The Sopranos, I'll point this out as a little precursor. Remember in The Sopranos, his character Christopher, for one of Christopher's sub stories was he was trying to be an actor, and he taking it so seriously, and he was really kind of a dick about it. It's like, oh, acting is this, acting. Yeah, well, that was reality being translated to the screen, because he was kind of like that as well. He was wearing a raggedy sweater with his hands in his pocket, not really wanting to be there, because he fancies himself as like a real thespian, if you will.
Maybe.
I think that's the impression I was getting, that he. Like,
I was getting the exact opposite impression. I was getting the impression that he doesn't like doing any of this.
Well,
stuff.
that was what I'm leading to.
He seemed like a person who is upset that he has an acting career. Like, I don't know. Like, he did not seem like he wanted to be there. Like, he ever wanted to talk about it. Like, he was just like, yeah, this is what I do. Please leave me alone.
All right. Well, you can hear the misery from him. But the other two people were very nice as we go talk to the cast of Lincoln.
It's Erik Nagel at New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con.
Here on the press line at New York Comic Con for Lincoln, brand new show on NBC, and we're here with Arielle, Kebbel.
Yes, thanks for saying my name right.
A couple of things I want to talk to you about because I was a fan, and I think we talked to you. Well, we talked to the cast at San Diego for Midnight Texas.
Yes.
And the fate of that show was a little iffy. You got a little bit more, and then they're like, this isn't going to.
But here I am.
I know. I just want to say, fan from the other show. But now you're here on Lincoln here.
Yes.
So now you're playing you're playing the partner, but it's sort of like a three. Like, usually detective and cop duos, things like that, are two, but because of the situation, now it's like a triangle, like a threesome kind of thing going on here.
With the Bone Collector?
With the Bone Collector. And
that's interesting.
That.
A threesome with the Bone Collector. Okay. All right, sure. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So, tell me about the character, if you could.
About Amelia?
Yes.
So, Officer Amelia Sachs, she starts out as a beat cop. She is applying to be in the FBI. She wants more for herself in this community, and she also takes care of her younger sister, Rachel, as we find out in the pilot. Amelia watched her parents get shot and killed, and this has kind of been her I think the only thing she knew what to do with her life ever since, as well as take care of her sister. And very quickly, her life changes yet again when she realizes she's being asked to kind of move more into detective work with Lincoln Rhyme, going after, essentially the most infamous serial killer, and what that means for her and what it's bringing up for her own traumas and her past with her parents being murdered, and also what it means for protecting her sister. She wants, this is the first thing that is kind of ignited Amelia's life, and at the same time, does that come at the cost of her sister's safety?
Oh, cool. So this is based on a series of books, which I first to admit I have not read.
Yeah.
But I did see the original movie, which I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was really great, and it's still moments that I remember, like when he locks the thing, and it's like all the sharp,
taxi.
Taxi
it's awful.
and all that stuff.
Awful.
Is there going to be any characters from the movie that are going to be part of this?
That is a great question. I would say TBD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's yes, but she can't say. Getting into this role here, with the series that already existed, and that's the source material, did they just drop the books in front of you and go read up on this, or did you take that upon yourself?
No. It's definitely a personal choice. I've read The Bone Collector. And then I watched the movie before the initial audition. After that, I only watched certain scenes just to kind of check back at certain points. And then I realized after that, okay, now, like I said, now it's my turn to bring what I'm going to bring to Amelia. So it was like I had this incredible foundation I wanted to start from and honor and work with. I didn't want to pretend that it hadn't been there, and just totally make my own version. So I'll talk to the writers on set like, hey, in the books, I remember this moment, or like, hey, I remember this characteristic. I think we should make sure we add that back in. So I'm really doing my best to honor the books and the film and build from that, and then go, okay, here's my Amelia, and these are the ingredients I'm going to bring.
So prepping for the show, is there I would say with the culture and climate we're at right now, there's a lot of murderers and serial killer podcasts and a lot of stuff that's like really popular right now. And they just had the Ted Bundy documentary. Is there any of that stuff that you look to for like inspiration?
The guys, Mark and VJ, told me to watch Mindhunter, which is an incredible show. Copycat, which is an older film. It's a great film. And I really, things with that film resonated with me for Amelia's PTSD and anxiety disorders. Those moments where it's like all you need to do is get out of the room with a serial killer and your body is paralyzed with fear that you can't even almost survive, literally. So, and then just, my own personal reading here and there. I've definitely found that like my search on Netflix has changed a bit, as I'm in the mindset of this whole world, like, oh, what can I watch? But I don't know. I think there's so much great TV out there. Anything I watch, I'm always kind of noticing and paying attention to.
Well, I think this is gonna hit at the perfect time because everyone is so into it. Like all my friends are into all those murderer, serial killer, mystery podcasts.
Yeah.
And this is just I think it's just gonna be perfect.
Amazing. I hope you like it.
And you mentioned podcasts earlier, and we got to talk about that. You have a new venture in the podcast world with Spiritualgasm.
Yes.
Tell us about the podcast.
Thanks for asking. It's brand new. It's with my best friend Sterling Jones, and we talk about sexuality and spirituality and everything in between. And our slogan is, we want to make the uncomfortable comfortable. So we talk about everything from uncomfortable sexual preferences to awkward experiences to different healing modalities, self-care, self-worth, self-esteem. We have celebrity guests on, and it's really just there's so much information in today's world, with even just the terms, what's politically appropriate, to even with gender preference and this whole movement we're moving into. It's really beautiful, but it's very important to communicate that as we're learning these things, it's okay to be uncomfortable and create a community for that. It's okay to talk about your body. It's okay to talk about, what turns you on and how you like to be noticed and tended to and cared for. These things are important.
It's definitely a good time to do that now because, go back maybe even 20 years ago, people were still uptight when it talked to spirituality and sexuality, where it was based on their religious upbringing, and that not just I can't really talk sex with my parents, but when the religious aspect comes in. And we also ask people
what does spirituality mean to you? Because to someone that could be planting plants, to someone else that could be having an orgasm, to someone else it could be praying in church. Wherever you find your inner connection, your spiritual, what that word spiritual means to you. That's been a fascinating thing we've learned on the show is everyone has a different answer,
Well, thank you so much. They can find it where? Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts?
Literally, it's on all the
Anywhere
things.
you get podcasts.
Exactly.
You
just type in Spiritualgasm. You'll see Sterling's abs on it, and that's what you click on.
No offense, I am clicking on for Sterling's abs.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good luck with Lincoln.
Thank you.
Gills, we're continuing on the press line here at New York Comic Con for Lincoln show on NBC, and we got Russell Hornsby here. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm kind of intimidated about you.
Why you say that?
Because, one, your Lincoln rhymes. The name is awesome. It sounds like a like a young upcoming rapper who's like, could you listen to my CD? What's your name? Lincoln Rhymes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And all of a sudden Lincoln Rhymes blows up, and I go, wait, I remember that guy.
Right. Yeah.
That's such an awesome name to have.
I think it is a very awesome name. I'm actually happy and excited that they put it into the title. So it was Lincoln. It was formerly Lincoln. Now it's Lincoln Rhyme, Hunt for the Bone Collector.
Right. I'm glad they made that distinction, because the first thing he's like, we're going to see Lincoln. I'm like, is there a show about Abraham Lincoln? He's like, no, it rhymes. I was like, oh,
everybody
okay,
was saying that. And so people who've read the book or seen the movie, Lincoln Rhyme does stand out.
It does much better than, because then like you said, it avoids the confusion. You got Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, Lincoln Bone Collector, Lincoln
Lawyer.
Yeah, everything. All that stuff's going on here. So tell us about how you're interpreting Lincoln Rhymes here for the TV show.
Here's the thing, and this is the distinction. I say to people all the time, movies are often about character, but television is always about plot, but also the actor embodying the character. And so what ends up happening oftentimes is that I think audiences fall in love with the actor. Do you know what I mean? And so what I think is I just bring a flair for the dramatic, you know what I mean, to Lincoln that wasn't there. And because we have to stretch it out over 10, 12, however many episodes and seasons, you get an opportunity to really see who Russell is as an actor, and the fun that I like to have when I'm playing a role. And I think that's so like I'm embodying the character with a lot of the passion that I have, but also with a lot of the soulfulness that I have. You know what I mean? I'm a kid I grew up in the hip-hop generation, but I also love Shakespeare, and I love musicals, so I bring all those elements into the characters that I play.
Did you bring in some Hamilton elements into
Lincoln?
Lincoln?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all that, but so that, I love Hamilton, so that's fun for me.
Yeah. So is there any research that you did to get into this cop role, of an investigator who's tracking a serial killer?
Well, yes and no. What I did was, I think, is there was 3 or 4 days where I walked the city. Mm-hmm. Literally, I started from Wall Street and just walked up to Midtown one day and just sort of traversing the city, avenue by avenue, street by street, and just seeing, the Empire State Building, just seeing, whatever, right? Then I went uptown, Midtown, all that kind of stuff. Read a couple books that, deal with the minutiae, the grace notes of the city. But after that, it's really about just allowing the script to lead you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because all he does is Lincoln works with his imagination. So he doesn't have to worry about actually being there investigating. That's why I wanted to visually see the city, so that when I'm in my bed working these cases and stuff, you can, I have the imagery in my head.
It's like going through a Google Maps type thing.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, I want to point out that's a lot of walking, so I'm glad you got your steps in to see all that.
Yeah.
And then number 2, you're doing all this walking and visualizing and piecing all this together. What music's going through your head while you're doing this? Are there classic cop themes? You thinking Serpico? You thinking something from?
Nah, man. The thing is, I need something that keeps the rhythm going. So I did do Hamilton. I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan. So
oh my God, he's doing yellow, skipping
right into the night. And so because I want to keep
this
the
is
pace
a weird
going,
cop show,
right? And so musicals help you keep the pace going, help you stay buoyant and stay upbeat. So I got all kinds of shit, and then I got the hip hop and the rap and the hey baby what's up going on, all that kind of stuff like that. So yeah.
So is this going to be for the show? Is it going to be an episodic thing where every episode you're looking for the killer, or is it going to be an overarching storyline of tracking the killer,
actually
or
both.
Both?
It's both. Yeah. So that's why it's going to be I think it's going to be like an anthology, right? So we got Lincoln Hine, Hunt for the Bone Collector. So if we look at it as there are 14 novels,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can basically look at each season would be a novel of sorts. So right. So this Lincoln Rhyme, Hunt for the Bone Collector, next Hunt for the Skin Collector, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what I think. And then in that, the overarching is about the Bone Collector, but in that we have cases of the week.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I feel like a Hannibal Lecter type vibe, where someone going to someone oh, we got to get this guy. How do we get information to track him down while still looking for...
So every episode is not going to deal with the Bone Collector, but he's going to be there.
That's awesome.
Wouldn't it be great if they have to start each episode with just a really minor case that's more of an annoyance to Lincoln because he's got bigger things to worry about? It's dude, you got to find out who stole these Amazon packages. It's all right, fine, here it is. I got to deal with this killer here.
Not that annoying, but yes, that will happen.
Well, the show looks amazing, and there's a lot of pressure on this because you have the opportunity to make Lincoln a very big one-word, one-name character that everybody remembers. So you're in the likes of Frasier, House, and essentially you're like a Detective House.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He is, and he's the same cynic and curmudgeon in a way that House is or was, and so I'm excited about that. Just taking that on. It's a challenge that I love.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing how everything unfolds here with Lincoln. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Here on the press line for Lincoln on NBC, and we're speaking to a legend in the acting world. We're just kissing your ass for a tiny bit, Mr. Michael Imperioli.
Thank you very much.
Now, you have some infamous roles, gangsters. You've played cops before. But you have such a diverse body of work. I got to give you props for playing Uriel on Lucifer. It was it was not expecting it when you showed up.
It wasn't expected for me either.
How did that come about?
They asked me to do it.
And you was like, yeah, why not? I'll play an angel with an attitude.
I just thought it was pretty wild. And Tom Capanos I worked with on Californication. So he was one of the people who started Lucifer. So I really like his stuff and what he's done. Just thought it would be a fun change of pace for me,
Yeah, and it's a shame, too, the way the character, I won't spoil it, ended, because a lot of the other angels come and go, and then they appear back in other seasons, and I don't know if there's any chance for you coming back.
I guess you never know on those things. They could just make it up as they go along, right?
Yeah, that knife...
They can come back. They can do whatever
who
they want.
knows?
Well, that knife didn't really work, so he's back here, and now he's going to give Lucifer a hard time. But we're here to talk about Lincoln. Does it make it so much easier in your work when your character and you share the same name?
He originally was Rick, and then they changed him to Mike. So I'm still getting used to that, even though it's my name. But I don't go by Mike as much as Michael.
Right.
So it is kind of different. Most people call me Michael.
Okay, so it's still like you're learning a new role and adapting to the character itself here.
Yeah.
In your previous roles, you're very intense. You're low key and then you pop. How is it now playing this detective with your partners in this medical situation? You got the bone collector that you guys are going after, and now there's a third person involved with all this. Are you very low key? Are you the wiser elder statesman?
Both. He's low key. He's a wiser elder statesman, but he can also pop. And I think that's very, normal for the job. Being a police officer or detective is dangerous. And, these are guys who usually have experience handling situations that sometimes can be violent, and it takes a certain temperament to be that, I think.
So how does your character interact with Lincoln Rhymes? Like, is someone a good cop, bad cop, like type situation here, mentor, mentee? Like, how does your relationship work?
Yeah, we were partners, and Lincoln, of course, was seriously injured, and now he's disabled, and there's our history there's some guilt connected to that from my point of view, because we were partners, and if things were a little bit different, would he have been saved, or could I have gotten there sooner? All that kind of stuff comes into play. But now he's not been working, and I think this is a way to get him back out of his shell, coming back to the force, but doing it from his house and his confinement. And I think Salito feels responsibility to that, to whatever he can do, but yet he doesn't want to show pity. He doesn't want to show that kind of...
Gotta be hard to be a cop.
Yeah.
Lack of emotion, and because it affects the job.
And the difference between these guys is he's much more of a cerebral, intellectual kind of mathematician, putting together the puzzles, and where Salito's much more instinctual, coming from the streets, more kind of going with the gut kind of.
Without trying to be mean, doing the actual legwork.
Doing the actual legwork with Amelia, and she's being his eyes and ears, and and I'm kind of steering her through that, being on the ground.
Last question for you, because I know you got to go. You got a busy schedule here, but you've done so much in your body of work here. What role is still out there that you're looking to play? What haven't you done yet that you really want to take a crack at?
I've been asked that question a lot over the years, and I never know what to say, because you never know what's out there, and I just, it's more about just keep working and finding stuff that interests you and keeps you engaged. And I do have a movie that opens in New York February 21st at the Metrograph Cinema. It's an independent that we shot in Lisbon a couple of years ago. A few actors from Sopranos who were colleagues even before then, but it's one of the things I'm most proud of as an actor. It's one of my favorite roles that I've ever done. It's called Cabaret Maxime, and it opens in the screen February 21st and video VOD shortly after.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll look forward to that, Mr. Imperioli. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It's Erik Nagel at New York Comic Con.
So that was the cast of Lincoln. And you can hear exactly how thrilled Michael Imperioli was to be talking to us or to anybody there.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving